Hello, nice to meet you guys. This is Ian Christopher McClungford bringing you the facts and news of the day. This is from Fox News. It was published June 30th of 2021 this year. Myocarditis after COVID-19 vaccination higher in military population than expected, study finds. COVID-19 vaccines may trigger right here it says COVID vaccines may be new trigger for heart inflammation. These mostly young men aged 16 to 30, especially in the adolescents 16 to 19, and most are in the hospital up to 4 days. It does appear that mRNA vaccines may be a new trigger for myocarditis. Dr. Matthew Oster of the CDC COVID-19 Task Force said Wednesday. COVID vaccines and heart inflammation in young adults a likely link, CDC panel. A greater number of heart inflammation cases cropped up among members of the U.S. military than expected following mRNA COVID-19 vaccination, a study found. Though authors emphasize the benefits of the shots exceed risks of rare adverse effects. The Defense Health Agency published findings in the JAMA Cardiology Journal noting 23 otherwise healthy male patients presented with chest pain within 4 days after either the Pfizer, BioNTech, or the Moderna vaccine. According to the study, 20 began experiencing symptoms after the second dose. While 16 patients saw symptoms resolve within a week, 7 were still experiencing chest pain discomfort at the time the study was submitted for publication. Patients were 25 years old on average, and ages ranged from 20 to 51. Nearly all patients were active military members with one retiree. While the observed number of myocarditis cases was small, the number was higher than expected among male military members after a second vaccine dose, the study authors wrote. The study noted 19 observable myocarditis cases amid 436,000 second doses administered to male military members, which exceeded 8 expected doses. Or cases, not doses. A CDC advisory panel last week suggested a likely link between mRNA COVID-19 vaccines and rare reports of heart inflammation in adolescent and young adults, but noted the benefits of receiving a shot still clearly outweighed the risks. I disagree with that, but that's my own personal opinion. The group noted myocarditis most often appeared after the second dose, which is what I know about. I hear about the second dose always doing something bad to people, which is similar to data reported through a national surveillance system, VAERS. Following the meeting, the FDA announced revisions to fact sheets accompanying the Pfizer and Moderna COVID-19 vaccines related to elevated risks of myocarditis and pericarditis after vaccination, especially after the second dose, with symptoms occurring within several days. Kayla Rivas is a health reporter and joined Fox in April 2020. So that's the end of that article. Next article we'll get to. This one's an odd one for you guys. Real Clear Politics. Biden gives odd response about sucking blood out of kids to question about defunding police. That's the article, that's the headline. Joe Biden was given the chance to condemn the Democrat-run cities defunding police around the country, but refused. Instead, he bizarrely responds, "Are there people who think I'm sucking the blood out of kids?" President Biden caused confusion and concern with a bizarre answer to a question about progressive about progressive Democrats who campaigned to defund the police on Thursday evening. Are there people in the Democratic Party who want to defund the police? Biden was asked by the Daily Caller reporter Shelby Talcott. Are there people in the Republican Party who thinking that we're sucking the blood out of kids? That's what he says. Biden replied before walking away. Love that. Shelby Talcott was able to get Biden to admit he's aware people think that he drinks the blood of children. And the best part is, it was on the tip of his tongue. It's something he thinks about. Haha. You think about this often, Joe? LMAO. And that's Elijah Schaefer. What he had to say about it. Right there. I'll just zoom it in right there. Okay, that's the end of that article. Not a very odd article, but it was a little bit bizarre and comical. Alright. Here's a depressing one. But it's true. It's facts. U.S. life expectancy, this is by the CDC, the CDC website. They're actually not the CDC, sorry. This is Reuters. See right there, it says Reuters. Reuters. U.S. life expectancy falls to lowest level in almost 20 years due to COVID-19 CDC. So the U.S. life expectancy falls to lowest level in almost 20 years due to COVID-19. That's what the CDC says. July 21st, Reuters. Life expectancy in the United States fell by a year and a half in 2020 to 77.3 years, the lowest level since 2003, primarily due to deaths caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, a U.S. health agency said on Wednesday. And this actual article was July 21st, 2021. So it's been a while. It's the biggest one-year decline since World War II, when life expectancy fell 2.9 years between 1942 and 1943, and is 6 months shorter than the February 2021 estimate, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said. Read more. Quote, life expectancy has been increasing gradually every year for the past several decades, end quote. Elizabeth Arias, a CDC researcher who worked on the report, told Reuters. The decline between 2019 and 2020 was so large that it took us back to the levels we were in during 2003. It was sort of like we lost a decade, end quote. Deaths from COVID-19 contributed to nearly three-fourths or 74%, so almost 75, but 74% of the decline in drug overdoses. I'll repeat that. Deaths from the COVID-19 contributed to nearly three-fourths or 74% of the decline. And drug overdoses were also a major contributor, the CDC said. The CDC's National Center for Health Sciences, NCHS, said last week they released their interim data showing that the U.S. drug overdose deaths rose nearly 30% in 2020. The latest CDC report is based on provisional mortality data for January through December 2020. Racial, gender, and ethnic disparities worsened during the period, the report said. Life expectancy for black people fell by 2.9 years to 71.8 years in 2020, the lowest level since 2000. Life expectancy for Hispanic males dropped 3.7 years to 75.3, the largest decline of any group. Disparity in life expectancy between men and women also widened in 2020, with women now expected to live 80.2 years or 5.7 years longer than men, 6 months more than foreseen in 2019. The data represents early estimates based on death certificates received, processed, and encoded, but not finalized by the NCHS. Reporting by Dania Nadeem, additional reporting by Trisha Roy and Bengaluru. editing by Carolyn Humer and Steve Orlovsky. So that's the end of that article. This one is, I don't know if I can get through this whole article. Yeah, I'll get through it. Alright, this one's called this is the brainwashing, but I'm going to go over the brainwashing propaganda of it. It's kind of mind-numbing how it kind of has such a biased view of it. It's promoting the vaccine, and I'm more skeptical of the vaccine myself. How nanotechnology helps mRNA COVID-19 vaccines work. See that right there? This is how nanotechnology helps mRNA COVID-19 vaccines work. And you see that huge glob, that's like a cell, or it's how it's reprogramming the cell. It's not good. Okay. While the first two COVID-19 vaccines relying on messenger RNA technology speed toward regulatory approval in the U.S., it's worth remembering the vehicle that gets them where they need to go in the body. Lipid nanoparticles are the fatty molecular envelopes that help strands of mRNA, the genetic messenger for making DNA code into proteins, evade the body's biological gatekeepers and reach their target cell without being degraded. They're enabling some of the most advanced technologies being used in vaccines and drugs. These carriers are used to package the active chemicals and drugs such as the chemotherapy Doxil or the cholesterol-lowering medicines Repatha and Praluent, so they get to their targets with fewer unwanted side effects. And nanoparticles are being investigated to vary the genome editing CRISPR-Cas9 to target organs in hopes of solving another delivery challenge. In 2018, the biotech Alnylam turned Nobel Prize-winning RNA interference research into the first siRNA drug, Onpattro, for patients with an inherited neurological disorder by packaging the small interfering RNA in lipid nanoparticles. Now, similar formulations are paving the way for messenger RNA vaccines. Quote, in my mind, one of the heroes in the history of RNA is the RNA nanoparticle. In my mind, I'll restart. Beginning quote, in my mind, one of the heroes in the story is the RNA nanoparticle, end quote, said Daniel Anderson, professor of chemical engineering at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, because beginning quote, siRNA led to, I'll restart, beginning quote, siRNA led to mRNA vaccines, end quote. The FDA's approval of the first RNAi-based drug was proof these nanoparticles were not just tools we use in the lab to manipulate genes, Anderson said in a new stat report on nanomedicine, but proof they can be translated into approved medicines. Nanomedicine is crucial to delivering mRNA vaccines, but it is also key in reformulating existing drugs and formulating new ones to treat COVID-19 patients, the new report explains. Before COVID-19 spread around the globe, mRNA vaccines were in the early stages of development, and biotech companies and nanotechnology was central to their efforts. Quote, after all, viruses are naturally occurring nanoparticles, and indeed the nanotechnology community has long been trying to capitalize on the properties of viruses and mimic their behavior, for example, for the design of virus-like nanoparticles for targeted drug delivery and gene editing, end quote, an editorial in Nature Nanotechnology pointed out in August. This is where I'm going to get into detail about where I'm skeptical of the vaccine's efficacy and how it works. But that's just my own commentary. Once packaged in a vaccine messenger RNA that encodes for a protein found on the surface of the novel coronavirus. So the protein is what's bad. It's the spike protein. So it encodes for a protein, which is a live virus found on the surface of the novel coronavirus. It is a literal live virus that should compel the body's cells to produce that protein. So you're replicating live virus protein, spike proteins in your body is what this article is saying, spurring an immune system reaction that's teach the body how to fight the virus and thus prevent COVID-19. And that's a lie, the last part. It does not, those are what old vaccines did. They spurred on the immune system's body response system. When the vaccine was delivered, it created an immunity to the virus. But it was an attenuated or weakened virus or dead virus. This is a live virus. So it does not teach it to fight and prevent COVID-19. But this is the mainstream propaganda, and this is the brainwashing I was mentioning earlier. It's a different technique from the one used by traditional vaccines, which mimic disease components to trick the immune system into building defenses against future infections with the real thing. In contrast, mRNA vaccines jumpstart cellular, like I said, protein, spike protein, live virus protein replication in your body, protein making machinery to fight the invader. A nanocarrier system made of lipid or polymeric nanoparticles can bring mRNA into cells to instruct them to make antigens and stimulate the immune system to make antibodies against SARS-CoV-2. These lipids and polymers are designed to escape enzymes that might rapidly degrade the mRNA or limit how well cells take it up. Immune stimulating boosters can also be added to provoke a stronger immune response, more likely that it will create side effects and spur variants of the virus, but that's my opinion. Nanoparticles could also play a key role in getting vaccines to people in resource-poor or densely populated countries. Vaccines could one day be administered through microneedle patches, single-dose slow-release implants, film-based nanomaterials, or plant vial nanoparticles for antigen delivery, which do not require cold chains. That day seems far off in the race to find a coronavirus vaccine that works, but it remains to be seen whether SARS-CoV-2 will be more like the flu, requiring a new shot every year. Nano formulations could potentially be used to deliver stronger doses of intravenous or inhaled dexamethasone, one of the few existing drugs to show some efficacy in dampening the inflammation some COVID-19 patients suffer, directly to hyperactivated immune cells. Based on animal studies of other diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, multiple sclerosis, liver fibrosis, and cancer, scientists believe sending the steroid encased in a liposome nanocarrier directly to macrophages where nanoparticles are known to accumulate would be more potent than giving free dexamethasone in order to control the cytokine storms, and that's what all this would create, all these vaccine cytokine storms that patients suffer when their immune system response is too strong. Dexamethasone has already been formulated as a nanomedicine for the treatment of multiple myeloma. For COVID-19, a nanomedicine formulation would allow targeting of certain immune cells in the lungs if inhaled, or other immune cells elsewhere if given intravenously. And this is about the author. It is Elizabeth Cooney, the Morning Rounds writer. Liz is the author of Stats Morning Rounds newsletter. And that's her right there. That's who wrote this propaganda pro-vaccine stuff. Did you see her well enough? That was her. Okay. That's the end of that article. And that was from Stat. Okay, this article is from NPR. Vaccines could drive the evolution of more COVID-19 mutants. I'll repeat it. Vaccines could drive the evolution of more COVID-19 mutants. Mutant coronaviruses make vaccines less effective. At the same time, vaccines can contribute to virus mutations, but this is a slow process that should be manageable. But they don't prove that it will be manageable. So, okay. Sasha Pfeiffer, host. The new coronavirus variants have raised concerns about whether vaccines will remain effective against this disease. So far, the vaccines still seem to work, although scientists are keeping a close eye on variant first seen in South Africa. Sorry, y'all. I have to check these articles. Okay. Sorry about that. Close eye on a variant seen first in South Africa, but the vaccines themselves could drive the evolution of more mutants. That's what I fear myself. However, NPR, she didn't say that part. I did. However, NPR science correspondent Richard Harris reports that's not cause for alarm. Richard Harris, byline. You may have heard that bacteria can develop resistance to antibiotics and, in the worst case scenario, render the drugs useless. Something similar can also happen with vaccines, though, with less serious consequences. This worry has arisen mostly in the debate over whether to delay a second vaccine shot so more people can get the first shot quickly. Paul Bienias, a Howard Hughes investigator at Rockefeller University, says that gap would leave people with partial immunity longer than necessary. Paul Bienias. They might serve as a sort of breeding ground for the virus to acquire new mutations. Harris. That's because the virus is always mutating, and if one happens to produce a mutation that makes it less vulnerable to the vaccine, that virus could simply multiply in a vaccinated individual. But if that happens, that's only one step in the process. Bienias. So what's really unclear and really quite unimportant, what's really unclear and really quite important for the virus to evolve is whether people having been vaccinated and infected, whether they have sufficient levels of virus replication to pass the virus to other people. And the people, I argue, that have taken the vaccine have that level of virus replication, and they shed. But that's based off of my own research. That's not the NPR article. Harris. If the vaccine keeps virus levels low, even mutated viruses, the infected person won't produce enough to spread to other people. Unfortunately, at the moment, scientists can't answer the most basic questions about this process. How much does the virus actually replicate inside a person who has been vaccinated with either one dose or two? And how effective is that vaccine at limiting infection enough so that the virus levels stay low and prevent the spread to other people? Andrew Reed at Penn State University says, whatever the answers may be, vaccine resistance, or escape, as it's called, isn't nearly as scary as bacteria becoming resistant to antibiotics. Andrew Reed. I know everybody's worried about it, but I would say that history shows us that vaccine escape does not erode to zero. It does not erase vaccine protection. Harris. A vaccine may become less potent, but in other cases, this has happened, it still works. Where this has happened, it still works. Reed. It's often got this very strong anti-disease properties. Or it's often got very strong anti-disease properties. so you get less sick even with the viruses that are around. Harris. And this evolutionary pressure is present for any vaccine that doesn't completely block infection. So it's not just an issue for people who are between their initial shot and their booster. Many vaccines, apparently including the COVID vaccines, do not completely prevent a virus from multiplying inside someone, even though these vaccines do prevent serious illness. Reed. I do think that there are a lot of options here for trying to deal with any evolution should it occur. Harris. One thing that helps is dozens of vaccines are being developed and more than a half a dozen are already in use. Reed. One of the great things about having a lot of vaccine options is we might end up with a population who is heterogeneously vaccinated. You might get the AstraZeneca and I might get one of the mRNA ones. That'll really help us hinder the spread of mutants that are good at any one of those. Gotta love this guy's logic, not. Harris. A virus that has evolved to get around one vaccine is likely to be stopped by another, and that will limit the spread of mutant strains. Drug makers are also keeping a close eye on mutants and are already formulating new vaccines that will be more effective if it turns out the original vaccines weaken too much. Paul Bienias says, this is not a crisis. Bienias. We're not going to fall off a cliff tomorrow in terms of vaccine efficacy. What we're likely to see is a slow, steady erosion of efficacy over perhaps quite a long period of time. Harris. Bienias says, to slow this evolutionary process as much as possible, it's important to slow the spread of the virus right now so people who get vaccinated are at lower risk for getting infected in the first place. Richard Harris, NPR News. And that's the end of the NPR article. It was a transcript of a script of a radio report. All right, the story is another Reuters story. See that? It says Reuters right there. Reuters. It says Reuters. Reuters. And it says, explainer, what we know about Japan's contaminated Moderna COVID-19 vaccines. What we know about them. The bad contaminated COVID-19 vaccines that were made by Moderna, shipped off to Japan. From widening reports of contamination in supplies of Moderna. And this report was updated, was August 30th, 2021, and I never told you guys the NPR article actually was February 9th, 2021, and the stat article about the how nanotechnology helps mRNA COVID-19 vaccine works, that was on December 1st, 2020. Here are some aspects of the concerns. When was it first reported and how was it widened? The first contamination was reported in Moderna's local distributor, Takeda Pharmaceutical Company, on August 16th. That led to the discovery of 39 vials containing foreign material, all from the same lot of 57,000, or about 570,000 doses. On August 26th, Japan said that, as a precaution, it had halted use of 1.63 million Moderna doses shipped to 863 vaccination centers nationwide. It suspended the use of lot 3004667 that included those vials and two similarly sized lots, 3004734 and 3004956. On Sunday, a vaccination center in Okinawa Prefecture reported finding contaminants from a fourth lot, 3005293. Black substances were spotted in syringes and a vial with pink substances found in another syringe, the health ministry said. In fact, in Japan, they don't mess around with these bad vaccines like we do in the US. A vaccine center in Gunma Prefecture near Tokyo found a tiny black substance in a vial from lot 300,529. Let me repeat that, sorry. Lot number 3005236. Regional authorities temporarily halted use of the affected lots from Okinawa and Gunma. Later, the health ministry said, and Takeda said there were no safety concerns and no suspension of use was necessary. The Okinawa cases were probably caused by needles being incorrectly inserted into vials, breaking off bits of the rubber stopper, Health Minister Noriisha Tamura told reporters on Tuesday. What are the contaminants? The contaminants that triggered suspensions of the first three lots are believed to be metallic particles, public broadcaster NHK said, citing health ministry sources. The ministry had not officially identified the particles, pending an investigation by Takeda, Moderna, and Spanish contract manufacturing partner Rovi MC. The firms have also yet to comment on what the foreign material is. Is there a safety issue? Japan and Moderna have no safety issues. Have said no safety issues were identified. Two men aged 38 and 30 died this month within days of receiving their second Moderna doses, the health ministry said on Saturday. Each had a dose from one of their suspended lots. 300,4734. The causes of death are being investigated. Each had a fever the day after a second dose and died 2 days after getting the fever. There has been no evidence of contaminants in their shots, a health ministry official told reporters. By August 8th, 991 people had died in Japan after receiving COVID-19 shots from Pfizer, BioNTech, and 11 after receiving Moderna's. No causality link has been established between the injections and deaths, according to the health ministry. About 500,000 people have had shots from the first three suspended batches, Taro Kono, the minister in charge of the vaccine push, told reporters on Friday. Are other countries also affected? Rovi, which packages Moderna vaccines for markets other than the United States, said last week the batch in question was meant for distribution only in Japan. South Korea, which also receives the Moderna vaccines produced from sites in the United States and Spain, said it was not affected. Last week, the European Union drugs regulator said it was investigating the incident, but an initial assessment yielded no reason to seek a temporary suspension of production. Okay. There's one more article left. We got through all of these. We got through all these articles so far. This article, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7th article. And you know what it's called? Woke U.S. soldier threatens Americans, says they become the enemy if they don't obey under martial law. That's the headline. A video clip of a female U.S. Army officer, soldier, it says, who appeared to threaten to shoot American citizens if martial law is ever declared and they refuse to comply with orders, has gone viral on social media and triggered widespread backlash. And excuse me, I didn't say, This article came out on August 27th, 2021. The clip went viral thanks to Jeremy Darling, a black conservative who posted a snippet of the larger clip to his own TikTok and added his own commentary, warning that the soldier's words should be cause for concern. The soldier's words are as follows. Understand that if active duty military actually get deployed within the United States, the weapon is not just pointed at other people, other countries, it's pointed at you. If you do not get in your house when I tell you to, you become the enemy. Martial law. It's like that, huh? Watch the clip either at Darling's TikTok or via the tweet below. Travis. Woke soldier says she'll shoot Americans who disobey her if martial law is declared. She must not realize how many of us veterans have the same training and won't be on our side. That's what he says. That's what Travis says. He says many veterans won't be on our side. Who is this woman? An investigation reveals that she's a 35-year-old self-identified lesbian who goes by the pronouns she, her, whatever that means. Of course, she's a woman. Why wouldn't she go by those pronouns? Sounds about left. Furthermore, she runs the Lord Daddy Nugget, which is where she posted the original video that Darling later cropped. The TikTok account, Lord Daddy Nugget. She also runs the Nuggets and Chicken Twitter account. She has a fascination with nuggets, apparently. Chicken nuggets. The clip of her shared by Darling triggered massive outrage, some of it initially mistakenly aimed at Darling. Here's a small sample of that outrage. Language warning. So, if you have any kids, don't put them away. This is a bad language right now. Well, this is dumb. Hey girl, I see you. Thank God our founders saw tyrants like you coming. You must not have been taught how real America is. Otherwise, you would have not made such a dumb video. Patriots will protect God, family, and country. Hashtag Mr. Darling. And it's a Julia Song at Real Julia Song. Then let's go. The B word. She says the B word on that. See? Let's go. It's right there, see? Everyone go spam. Hashtag Mr. Darling on TikTok. She is hoping she gets a chance to shoot Americans who are standing up to this COVID nonsense. Absolutely evil and disgusting. Is this the white rage they are talking about? Rosie Darcy. What an odd thing to say. Guess she didn't really mean it when she took an oath to support and defend the U.S. Constitution and missed the part about her training of where they discussed unlawful orders. Posse comitatus, anyone? And another guy said, dumb B word. Please try a veteran when the time comes. That's what that guy said. That's kind of strong words. Get through this page. Sorry, guys. Sorry, I'm holding it up. Primo Radical, you're threatening American citizens. If you do not get in your house when I tell you to, you become the enemy. F off, you imperialist bootlicker. That's what he says right there. Notice how the latter Twitter called her an imperialist bootlicker. This suggests the user is a left-winger, meaning her remarks offended some on the left as well. But despite the massive backlash, some defenders pushed back on the anger, claiming she had been taken out of context. They purposely took it out of context. It doesn't even sound like she's making a threat anyway, lol. She's just explaining how the law works, just basic con rage bait. They always fall for it. check whether this defense is valid. It's necessary that the full video she shared to her TikTok account be examined. The full video begins with Miss Nugget sharing a video of another TikTok user named Jody angrily ranting about the military's lack of action in regard to authoritarian COVID diktats being imposed on the American people. This is a message for our United States military, the Air Force, the Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Coast Guard, Space Force. Everybody considers himself a person that would defend this effing country. Where are you? We thought the military took an oath to protect this country. They took an oath to protect our Constitution. That includes enemies, foreign and domestic, Jody says. Where are you, military? Because if you're leaving it up to the American people, you need to let us know, because everybody's on the edge of their seat. You got millions and millions of gun owners that are ready to walk out and complete an effing bloodbath, and we're beginning to wonder where our effing military is, she says. After conclusion of the clip, Miss Nugget responds by accusing Jody of being a domestic terrorist and warning her of her consequences of martial law being declared. I mean, no, I'm no expert, but that sounded like a terrorist threat with you talking about a bunch of gun owners going out and starting a bloodbath. Like you've never heard of the Insurrection Act, she says. There's reasons why the military doesn't deploy within the U.S., and if they did, your good old boy system isn't going to fare well for you. Martial law, you know, where your rights get curtailed. You don't have all the same freedoms that the Constitution guarantees at that point, so be careful what you wish for and stop opining about things you don't understand, she says. Watch the full TikTok video. And if it sounds like Ms. Nugget got the impression that Jody wants martial law to be declared in the United States. Jody's made her own account private, so it's impossible to check her original video and determine whether or not she indeed made such an demand. Nugget has, for her part, claimed via Twitter that she has just been trying to be informative of the Insurrection Act. Nugget. I have nuggets and chicken. Wow, I was so unaware I was trending on Twitter. Thank you for all the love and support. Remember, the video posted is informative of the Insurrection Act and not my opinion. My views are my own, and I do not speak for the military or any other entity. That's what she said. And I guess that's in her defense. I still think she was a power tripper since she's in the military threatening people. So that was the end of that article. Alright, so that's all the articles. Thank you for putting up with me tonight. I know it's unprofessional. I didn't say all the articles, time, the date of every single article when it was supposed to be said in the right fashion before I started the article. Each article was saying that when it came out. But other than that, I got all the articles out I wanted. Hope you guys have a good day, good night, whatever time it is when you watch this. Have a blessed night, blessed day, and if you have anything you'd like to add or tell me about the video, let me know.